Hello, I'm the Analyst, and normally I talk about Hollywood's biggest box office flops. Today, however, I'm here to talk about something else. You see, 10 years ago to the day saw the release of...
And so he buys this car, and it's like the coolest car in the world. It knows how to pick up chicks. How can a car know how to pick up chicks? So he's driving around, he picks up this hot chick and stuff. The car's doing all the work. I don't know how it does it. And then there's this lame line, there's more to you than meets the eye, and everyone, okay. But then the car is like, wow, and it's a Transformer too.
That's right, the very first Nostalgia Critic episode. And ever since that, Doug Walker has become one of the biggest names on the internet, remembering it so we don't have to. And so today, we'll be remembering it so he doesn't have to, and count down the best of the Nostalgia Critic.
Hey, did you say the best of Nostalgia Critic?
Hello, PhantomStrider. I'm about to look at the best episodes of the Nostalgia Critic through his 10-year history.
Howdy, Analyst. What a great idea. In the last decade, the Nostalgia Critic has had a massive impact on the internet critic community. He's inspired me and many other creators in the process.
Could you tell me what your favorite episodes of the series are?
Sure thing, Analyst. Some of my favorite Nostalgia Critic episodes include when he reviews Tom and Jerry the movie. This one was really nostalgic for me because Tom and Jerry the movie was one of my favorite movies as a kid. And Doug's skits in it were hilarious. I think it's got some of his best comedy timing.
My gorge rings at it, whatever the hell that means.
Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog was another really good review he did. He really captured the essence of both Sonic cartoons, and I think he really summarized both cartoons well. I think a lot of people really enjoy his Garbage Pail Kids movie review as well. While the movie itself was horrendously ugly, he made some really good points on what made the movie bad, and put some really good skits in there in the process. The Star Wars Holiday Special review was another favorite of mine. That was actually the very first Nostalgia Critic episode I ever saw. It's what originally drew me into Doug's reviews about 7 years ago. And my latest favorite was Christmas with the Cranks. As well as really capturing what I consider the spirit of Christmas, he gave a really touching, heartwarming message at the end that really connected with me. But anyway, what about you, Analyst? What are your favorites?
Well, I'll tell you. Some rules before we begin. First, we're only considering actual Nostalgia Critic episodes, so his appearances on other shows will not be considered, such as the Talking Cat review with Obscurus Lupa, the Passion of the Christ review with the Cinema Snob, and the demo reel finale, The Review Must Go On. However, episodes in which other reviewers appear, aka crossover episodes, will be allowed. Second, we're only counting reviews of the Nostalgia Critic, so the anniversary specials, You're a Rotten Dirty Bastard, and the editorials will not be considered. So sorry, where's the fair use? And lastly, to avoid any possible bias, I will only be considering one episode per year, and as such, this will be in chronological order. Now on to the countdown. 2008. For 2008, we're going with a classic review which spawned one of the show's most memorable jokes, one that Doug has admittedly come to regret.
A bad credit card, you bastards! I'll kill you! I'll kill all of you! All of you will die! You'll get that!
Batman and Robin saw the critic taking on the film that nearly destroyed Batman by bringing 60s-era levels of camp to the 90s, making him freak out and nearly commit suicide. Multiple times. He got to take plenty of shots at the constant ice-related puns.
Can you be cold too? Freeze well! Cool party!
The blatant homoeroticism between the titular heroes, how utterly predictable the movie is, and the many problems in the film's story, capped off with a demonstration of Doug's not inconsiderable musical skill. Many consider this to be where the Nostalgia Critic we know came to be, and I'm inclined to agree with the masses. 2009. My choice for 2009 is Alone in the Dark, featuring Linkara and Spoonie. This is probably my favorite of the crossover episodes, primarily for the banter between the three, aka the three schmuckheads, as they take on the schlock Uwe Boll in one of the most infamous films of all time, whether it be the improbable and borderline incomprehensible action, to the numerous plot holes, to the outright incompetence of the film with plenty of Mystery Science theatering during the bizarre and lengthy text crawl. And this is also despite Doug only speaking with a computer, as his voice was out during the filming of this super secret review, which results in comic gold with how the atrociousness of the film rendered him almost mute and was shot in Doug's basement because of construction going on nearby. The trio would later come together to do Blood Rain, and while that was also very much amusing, you can't best the original. 2010. My choice for the critics' best review of 2010 is this century's equivalent to Plan 9 from Outer Space, Tommy Wiseau's The Room. Much like my previous selection, the critic broke his then-standing cutoff date rule to review this much-requested midnight film, and traveled to the future to examine this fascinating disaster, finding the holy grail of terrible performances in Tommy Wiseau's Johnny, and also noted the sheer surrealism of Mr. Wiseau's filmmaking, with all of its random story elements that generally don't add up, and its bizarre ending as many of the other Channel Awesome reviewers try to stop him from ruining his life. Of course, this review has also been targeted by individuals connected to the movie, primarily some guy named John from TheRoomMovie.com. Though it's speculated this is just Tommy Wiseau. Though two of the film's stars, Greg Sestero and Juliet Danielle, did like it, the former even appearing in a future Nostalgia Critic episode. 2011. For 2011, I'm picking his Let's Play of Bart's Nightmare. Boo, boo, boo! Okay, I'm just messing with you guys. My real pick for 2011 is The Legend of the Titanic. In 2009, the Nostalgia Critic reviewed the first of the three Italian Titanic mockbusters, Titanic, The Legend Goes On, which featured racially insensitive mice, a bungled caper plot, a gender-flipped copy of James Cameron's Titanic, with some Cinderella thrown in for good measure, an out-of-place happy ending, and yes, a rapping dog. With the second of the three, he easily bests that review with an even more bizarre and downright disrespectful mockbuster, with, again, talking mice, and some of the most convoluted plot points in cinematic history, from moonbeam magic that allows people to speak with animals, to underwater shark gangs, to a dog-faced octopus, to a needless whaling plot. The critic knows this is a piece of garbage and makes sure to show every detail of its suckitude. We also get a fantastic opener from Rob Walker, Doug's brother and show co-writer, as Emperor Palpatine to critics Darth Vader, and a reference to one of the most unintentionally hilarious moments in cinematic history. Which also serves to somewhat foreshadow To Boldly Flee, and we get more of the massive bottles of Jägermeister he needs to get through this, needing one carried by helicopters to buy this ridiculousness, and 5 years later, he'd complete the trilogy with Tentacolino, and a Jägermeister bottle the size of a planet. 2012. My selection for the best of critic in 2012 is Scooby-Doo. This was supposed to be the final Nostalgia Critic episode, paving the way for To Boldly Flee in order to allow Doug to retire the character and move on to do demo reel. But that didn't exactly work out as he had wanted it to. This is the culmination of the critic's character over 4+ years of not just reviewing, but also the anniversary specials, with the strain of watching and reviewing all these films catching up to him in a brutally tearjerker opening scene, which actually was largely improvised on the spot and shows Doug's great acting ability. In his supposedly final episode, Critic unites with both his past and future selves to review Scooby-Doo, commenting on how it failed to please any generation of the venerable franchise's fans, plus another appearance from Orlando Belial Jr. as the critic's guardian angel Roger, reviewing one of the ultimate nostalgic letdowns from its mistreatment of the characters, including Scrappy-Doo, to its conspicuous CG, while he also tries to save the world from some disaster, combined with a very touching finale. It's clear that this would have ended the show on an extremely high note. 2013. My pick for this year is his review of Sailor Moon, which came out one moon well past June. That is not my real choice, I obviously kid, as that was one hell of a controversial vid. My real choice for 2013 is The Cat in the Hat, which sees the Nostalgia Critic up at bat against what could be the worst bastardization of Dr. Seuss, which gave future live-action adaptations a big old noose. With Critic babysitting the daughter of Kim Kardashian and Mr. Zabub, Evelina, who latches onto the Critic like a cub, as he explains to her everything wrong with this piece of trash, to both her and Peter Solis, aka
The ass with the cash.
the Critic doesn't hold back in this strenuous bout against this absolute slice of corporate sellout, with the two chart guys who go,
Well, the chart says,
whose brains end up going up faster than a dispenser of Pez. How does little Evelina result in her arrival being assigned to Rejoice? It has something to do with her beautiful, perky voice, for she helped snap Critic out of his funk, following them seeing the cat hit in the junk. And watching the film was all it took for Evelina to ultimately prefer the book, surmising that everything Hollywood thought would make it better instead was a showcase of what not to do, right down to the letter. When Solis couldn't accept the bitter taste of defeat, the devil arrived and made sure the executive was dead meat. And go to Channel Awesome to watch the commentary, where Rob talks about how he found this film scary. 2014. For 2014, I'm going with an unconventional choice, one many of you would overlook in favor of other reviews. My pick is Blues Brothers 2000. One of the critic's best aspects is his ability to integrate jokes that tie into the film, especially with the opening sequence and the multitude of varied critics to make up for the missing video of
Cartoon All-Stars to the rescue.
This is a review of an unwanted sequel to a classic, one that Critic held dear as an icon of his hometown Chicago, along with how utterly bizarre and nonsensical it is, even using Cards Against Humanity to find 3 things so insane they couldn't possibly happen, and they actually did happen. Plus, we also have a nice mid-review fake ad about how to lessen the impact of bad sequels by making everything just meh with fuck it all. Though he admittedly uses some manipulative editing towards the end, the critic does get the point across that this is largely a rehash of a comedy classic without the same energy or spirit of the original, showing he can not just be focusing on the comedy, but also on hardcore analysis.
Little thing. Actually, the soundtrack's not bad.
2015. In 2015, the Nostalgia Critic began doing clipless reviews, so he could review films currently in theaters, first doing so with Jurassic World to troll Universal, as the studio had previously taken down his reviews of the other Jurassic Park films. Of course, this wouldn't be his last, or his best. The best of these reviews, as well as my pick for 2015's best review, is Mad Max: Fury Road, which saw the critic trying to figure out what made everyone rave that this was the second coming of action films. The review is also unique as it didn't go explain the plot of the film as most of his reviews do, but rather has the critic go through a parodic version of the plot, chased down by Fury Road fanboys, Meninists, and Tom Hardy fangirls. This review sees Doug at his most creative and perhaps his most insightful, showing all the thoughts on the film through multiple perspectives with some particularly memorable characters, such as Tamara's Furiosa parody Curiosa, Rob's villain Impractical Joe, and of course the expansion of everyone's favorite child-friendly character, Devil Boner! 2016. Much like my pick for 2014, my choice for 2016 is again going to be one off the beaten path. The best Nostalgia Critic review of 2016 is Inspector Gadget Saves Christmas. This is one where we see the critic's Christmas spirit destroy a planet as he dives right into the strangeness of the Christmas season, and even makes a nice jab at Kirk Cameron.
Escape mental ward patients.
Delving into this holiday special, we get to hear his spot-on claw impression.
Puppies suck, get a kitten.
And at the end of the episode comes one of the biggest names the critic has ever gotten, coming along the same lines as prior guest stars Mara Wilson, Greg Sestero, Brental Floss, Maurice LaMarche and Rob Paulson, Dante Bosco, and Don Bluth. Voice actress Cree Summer, reprising one of her earliest roles as Penny Gadget in an animated segment where she reveals to have been behind both Gadget and Claw, playing both sides as part of her plan to conquer the world. And given how Penny was not only given a different voice actress in this special, and how Penny is usually the unsung hero of Gadget's adventures, this very much feels earned, unlike the Pinky and the Brain animation from the Purge review 2 years prior. 2017. Okay, since this is still 2017, this will be the best Nostalgia Critic review of the year so far. And that would happen to be Cool World, where the critic looks at the failure that ended the career of edgy animation director Ralph Bakshi, who would not only be portrayed in this review by Rob Walker, but the real man himself would actually like the review. Throughout the episode, the critic ends up talking with Rob's Bakshi about what Cool World is and what it was meant to be, with Rob's Bakshi impression really sealing the deal.
The movie.
Making him seem like someone who is both smart and completely insane. This review also seems to have a certain reality subtext, as Bakshi is frequently blamed for Cool World's failing, when, in fact, it was his original vision bastardized by Paramount executives and actress Kim Basinger, who wanted it to be more of a family picture. This also can apply to Doug Walker, as he is blamed for a lot of the problems going on with Channel Awesome, as he is the public face of the company, but its dealings with those in charge, specifically with some of the reviewers, have given Channel Awesome quite a bit of negative press. We also get to see Tamara as Julie Taymor and Malcolm as Spike Lee, with talk of the Institute for the Autistically Insane, which is a parallel to the Stay Home for the Ugly from the Garbage Pail Kids movie, and ends with a nice speech from the critic saying that the film doesn't fail for lack of trying, but for how it distorted Bakshi's original vision in not making it his own. Followed by one of the most surreal things to ever come out of the Nostalgia Critic, and that is saying something. In the decade he has existed, Doug has given us some of the greatest internet reviews of all time, remembering all the crap of the past so we don't have to, offering not only a lot of humor, but some very touching moments too, plus some sharp insights into where cinema stumbled. And when the day comes he won't be able to remember it anymore, we'll always be there to remember him.
I'm a distraction, your satisfaction. There's a war going on.
I'm the Nostalgia Critic guy, remember it so you don't have to.